hand built by myself, capable of 35 miles per hour, but good fun. Okay, so welcome everybody. Just going to share my screen to get the show underway.
Yeah, I think just wait about 2 minutes.
Okay.
South Africans, you need to wait for some South African time, you know.
Yeah,
5
sure.
minutes later.
Hello, Beth. Hi.
Hi. Good morning. Afternoon, I guess it is there. Evening.
Yeah, just give it some time. I see people are coming in. We're already on 17 people.
Yeah, we give it half a minute, Ahmed. We can't hang around. We've got a lot to get through. So
sorry, man. My South African community, it's raining here, so it's a bit dull today. So
took a while to get up. People are still in bed, maybe.
Yeah, it's actually exam time. So all the parents are stressed out. Okay, no issues. I think you can start, and please record the session for us. So we'll place it on our website. But thank you very much, and you can start.
Great stuff. Well, today's session, let's kick off. We've got a lot to get through. I'm Glenn Whelan. I work for Enginatics. I've been working for Oracle EBS as a consultant for the last, well, getting on for 30 years. Yeah, still are. So I came to join the Blitz Report team to deliver reports for the community for EBS. Can somebody go on mute? If you're not on mute, could you please go on mute? I just get a lot of background noise there. Okay, great. So
Mute him.
Thank you. The architecture for Blitz Report, very simple before we get going. It's within the EBS. It's within the EBS on the application server. There's a single form, a Java-based form, and all reports are run through the concurrent process and delivered in Excel. And we connect to the ECC database, and we monitor all those jobs there. Excuse me, if somebody's not on mute, can they go on mute, please? Because I'm struggling to hear what's going on. In fact, I might even see if I can mute everybody.
Maybe you can make Bess the organizer as well, then she can.
Yeah, Glenn, then I can give you a hand.
Yeah, where do I do that?
Beth, administrator, right? So she can mute everyone.
Yeah, if you go to participants, Glenn, at the bottom of the participants, and then you can find me and you can make me a presenter. You can right click on my name.
Okay. Do you want to be a co-host?
Sure.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, if you can control the audience, it's going to be otherwise a bit difficult for me. Yeah. Right, thanks, Beth. Okay, good. Any questions, obviously, pop them in the chat, and Beth.
Now, Beth, please don't mute Glenn, please, man.
Yes.
Thanks, Beth. So any questions, just pop them in the chat. And as I say, this session is going to be recorded anyway. So basically all you need to do is listen, and then hopefully if something you want to go back over it, then simply go and have a look at the recording afterwards. As I mentioned, we're connected to the ECC, and we'll be showing some of the Enterprise Command Center functionality and how we overcome some of the limitations with the reporting side there, and also to give you a whole raft of reports that you can run on the EBS side. In fact, there's about 220 ECC reports which you can have, provided you got that installed. Okay, so without going on too much, let's just have a quick look at what we're going to be doing. So from ECC perspective, we're going to take a standard Oracle query, and I'm going to show you how that's done. We're going to import it into EBS. We're going to then automatically create the report, and then we'll deliver it directly through concurrent request. And this whole process end to end takes just a couple of minutes, so it's very easy to do. And then one of the additional things we'll be doing is we'll be then assigning our report to any of the forms in EBS using the Zoom function, and I'll show you how that's done. Okay, good.
And Glenn,
Right.
maybe I'll just make one point here is that everyone's on mute, but you can use your chat. If you have questions, you can put your questions in the chat and I'll be monitoring that to give to help Glenn answer any questions. Excellent.
Thanks, Beth. Right. So from the command center viewpoint, if those of you who've seen this will be very familiar with this, you've got from the left across the top, you've got all the different process functions that you would expect for the dashboard. And down below, we've got our nice visual charts and, you know, past due customers. And as we scroll down, we've got our transactional data, which we can we can export from here using the export function. So what happens then is it will take all of the data that's presented in the dashboard and it will deliver it into a CSV file. So that's the first limitation within the Enterprise Command Center, is that you've got to work with these CSV files. And so let's have a look at what they look like. So a little bit of work to be done from the user perspective. So if you effectively do a little bit of reformatting in here, a little bit nasty, and you know, have to come across, justify, set your data types and add your filters. So you can get there in the end. And if we just go down to the bottom, we'll just make sure it totals up to what we expect, because we're going to just do a little checksum on this shortly. So let's just see, we've got our 92 million there, and similarly here I've got 92.27, and then within the dashboard we've got our balance running here. So this is the official Oracle totaling, and that looks like it's been rounded up slightly there. Okay, good. Now in terms of, let's go across now and do a similar process within the Blitz report. So if we go into the application, and you'll see here that we've got, you know, on any given menu, you've got the ability to add Blitz report. You can also add it into the forms. So if we go across into receivables and we have a little look at our famous vision operations data, we can see here we've got Blitz report on the menu. So, okay, you can put it in your top 10. You decide during the installation where you're going to put Blitz report, and it's seeded with somewhere around 200 reports anyway. But if you've got the Enterprise Command Center, you're going to add, or you can add an additional 220 reports. So as you come in, there's different functions for the different types of users. So I'm a developer, so I've got the capability of setting up a brand new report. Now you can develop these on, because it's read-only, you can actually develop them on production if you need to. And some of our customers are doing that now because it's read-only and it follows all of the secure policies governed by Oracle. So very straightforward to do. You can give your report a name here, and then you can paste in your SQL report, or you can follow the import function here. Now, with the import function, you've got the capability of bringing in different types of reports. So if you've got an investment in, sorry, my iPad's talking to me. If you've got an investment in your BI publisher reports and you want to improve the performance, then you could bring in any of either the standard Oracle BI publisher reports, or indeed you could bring in your own ones. We're not going to do that. We're focused on ECC. There are other types: concurrent program, Discoverer, for those of you still using Discoverer, Excel for apps, which is from Insight Software. We've had a couple of customers, we've replaced that. Enterprise Command Center, that's what we're doing today. Or you can import the Polaris reports, and that's something that we're in the mid-development, and we expect to have that ready in a couple of weeks. So from our website, I'll just show you what you can do. So within the Enginatics website, you've got these libraries that you can come along and you can download any report, or you can upload your own report. So it's a central repository of different library available there. So within the user manual, so this is at the Enginatics site, we explain about doing mass uploads. So it's also possible to do a mass import of reports from the different types of sources. So, you know, we talk about Enterprise Command Center, Discoverer, and so on. There are scripts available here, and you can just simply collect them out of this manual here and just grab the pieces of SQL you require to do the mass importing. We're going to do on an individual basis, so I'm just going to set this to Enterprise Command Center, and then I'm going to set I'm going to bring in the outstanding receivables query. So that is the same query we're looking at here, the outstanding receivables. So I'm going to be importing that and create a report from the back of that. So what we have here now is we've got a report. It's put a brackets 1 there because it's not unique. I'll just make it unique by putting my name against it. So obviously somebody's already done this process. In fact, it was me previously. It brings in the SQL, the exact same SQL that's running over in your dashboard. So there's a complete, alignment between your dashboard. The key difference here is that this is real time. So whereas your dashboards are supported by push programs coming from Oracle, each module has its own push program, and then it furnishes the data over into your dashboard. And those processes can be run as frequently as you require, and they can also be run on an incremental basis. And we'll talk a bit more about those shortly. Okay, back to our Blitz report. Parameters, we automatically add the operating unit, but you can also add additional parameters here. So, provided you want to choose from some additional parameters, you're able to do so here. In this particular case, I'm going to be picking up accounting date. The only trick is you have to remember that column has to reside within the query that you're reporting on for obvious reasons. So here we go, and we're going to add period from. Now I'm going to add period to. And again, reuse parameters, or you can create new ones from the beginning. So here, here now we've got our parameters, and these are available now for selection during the running. And then in the assignment section, you've got the ability to add to application site, responsibility group, etc. All those good things you would normally do. In this particular case, I'm just going to add it to myself because it's still in development mode. Then you can assign it to a form. This is not mandatory, but it can be quite useful. So if you're working with AR, if you want to replace, for example, the download function from the form or the export function, it's far better to add the report to the form. And the way we do that is we need to know the name of the form, which in this case I'm going to add it to the AR batch form, which is the batch transaction form. So in here I put the name of the form name. Now, where do you get the name of the form? Well, it's on any form. You've got about applications, and then in there, as you scroll down just about half a page, you get the current form name. So you would just take a note of that form, and then you would assign it to whichever form you want to have your report on. So we're already pretty much finished with our development. So as you can see, that was just a couple of minutes. If I go ahead and run this now, we've got the ability to put in our periods, which I'm not going to do because I just want total data to come out. So here I go, I'm going to run this, and then we'll show you some other little useful features. So it automatically opens the Excel. You see it applies the filters. It adjusts the data type according to the data in the table. So, you already don't have to do any legwork there. It's a proper Excel file. It doesn't go through XML layer. So it's just directly through the Nginatics engine, delivering through the standard API to Excel. So that in itself is already a time-saving feature. You can see the requests within the concurrent requests. So from here, if we look at the request that we've got here, we can see that we will prefix the name of the report. So we haven't actually had to register this in system administration. So already you're not having to go through all these change board meetings and all this difficult delivery where consultants have to do things late at night to deliver reports and so on, and invariably it goes wrong at that stage. So better to have the control with your development team. Like I said, it's read only. IT teams might not necessarily agree necessarily with you, but a lot of our customers now are started to developing directly on the shoulder with a business person and a developer, you know, basically doing the reporting for them. In these cases, obviously, we're using standard Oracle queries. So, you know, Oracle have already given you 220 queries, which you can then generate them into Blitz reports. So the other good thing here is you've got your version control. So as you're developing, and if you want to go through full cycle from test to UAT and so on, you can do so. You can just put in your version control in here, and then you can pass it whatever, yeah. And you can say, okay, ready for UAT. And then you could then export your reports if you want to. So let's say you've spent rather a long time developing your SQL, I say not using an ECC report, but let's say you've generated your own complex report. You may decide to then just export it and start, you know, and then move it to the next environment using the import function. So we have export import. You've obviously can also translate any of your existing reports, as I mentioned, in BI Publisher and so on. So from this perspective, we're ready to go. We can now go and, as you saw earlier, I assigned this to the batch form. So let's just go and pick up our report and we can see what it looks like from there. So from here, we've got our zoom function that we just initiated. As I run this, you'll see it's going to step through the different concurrent status options. So that is now delivered on the form. And again, it hasn't taken any technical know-how. So this can be done from a functional consultant. I'm not a technical developer, so it's quite straightforward. I can write a little bit of basic SQL, but nothing more than that. So as you can see, from ease of use and so on, very straightforward. As a user, you have the ability to create these templates. So you can template the layout. So again, if you don't want to burden your IT all the time whenever a user wants to relay out a particular report, they can just come in here and they can adjust the layout, they can move the sequence around, and very straightforward for a user to then save the template and then share it with their team. So if you had a key user structure, your business key user can do this. It's down to your IT department to make a flexible report so they can basically select from a number of different columns, as we've done here, or as ECC development team have done in this case. So I'll just leave those columns as they were. I just wanted to show you that that was possible. Other useful things you can do as a user, you've got the ability to email, add an infinite number of emails here separated by comma. You can change the output. If you really want to go back to old-fashioned CSV, you can do so. You can also go to all these different types, TSV and so on. You can set row limits on, you can set time limits on. So if you're in a very time sensitive area and you just don't want to put any additional drain on the situation, you could perhaps put some limits there, but we've not found anybody that's needed to do that so far. But the option's there for you. You can also send the files out, the delivery files out to Unix, and then you can do some post-processing. For example, if you wanted to post-process and translate into PDF, we have articles that are available that will tell you how to do that. But basically, you send the file out to the Unix shell, and then you put a post-process on to convert to PDFs. So that's possible as well. Okay, so let me just close this form. Let's go and have a look at our report, make sure it's good, because we should really check the balance due and so on is still the same. So from left to right, we've got all the good information you would expect. We've got the customer, we've got the bill to, the profile they reside in, what the currency was for this particular transaction, what the due amount and accounted due, and the transactional dates are there as well. So all of the good data you can, you're a little bit spoiled for data, I would say here. So as we scroll down, let's just make sure we are totaling this correctly and that we've got the same number of records here. Let's just pop in our total here. And we've got our 92.23. So we're good. We've reconciled, we've created a report. I'm looking like I'm running out of memory, so I'm just going to close a few of these sessions down. Let's just close a couple down so that my mere 8 gigabytes is struggling under the strain. Right, back to Blitz Report. We can go to, I'm just going to change to a system administrator. And at this stage, I just want to open up just to make sure there aren't any questions. Beth, has anybody put any questions yet in the chat?
Hi, Glenn. Yeah, there were a couple of questions in the chat. One was related to the Discover, so I just chatted back privately, but at some point at the end, maybe you could just do a little Discover import to show how easy that is. And there was another question about, does this work with Hyperion? I did say that we could connect to any third-party databases, but I don't know if Andy wants to take that.
Yeah, actually, I also don't know the Hyperion architecture in detail, but as Beth said, it's possible to just run queries over database links or using the Oracle Gateway or heterogeneous services architecture, so that we can pull in data from even non-Oracle databases as well. Yep. So that might be an option for an Hyperion integration, but we didn't do that yet, so we don't have anything out of the box for that.
No experience. So the other question, Glenn, was, can this be used with 12.1.3? So maybe you can answer that one.
Yes, 12.1.3 is fine, as is 11.5.10, I believe, Andy, isn't it correct?
Yeah, we even have an 11i version. So
right.
For some clients still on that EBS version,
yeah.
Another question, good. Another question here. I'm trying to get through these quickly because I know you've got a lot on your plate there to go through it. Can we deliver reports by SFTP?
Yes, that's an easy one. That's simply, actually, we use the Oracle standard delivery options for example, for FTP, and any sort of delivery or post-processing that is custom, that, for example, it requires a secure copy to a different location, or post-processing to convert to PDF or other output formats, or to distribute using a custom script that can be integrated easily. We actually even have a post-processing option in the front end where users can select, or developers can select a shell script to do those sort of delivery.
Okay, good.
One more quick question here. It says, businesses are sticklers on sensitive data, where developers are involved. Is data secured from development teams using Blitz Report? I just answered in the chat there that we do use VPD, virtual private database policies, to secure information from specific users. And yes. I don't know if you want to add any more to that, Andy.
We even have out of the box, because it's a frequent requirement from companies having sensitive HR data. We have out of the box a lookup and a concurrent process that automatically generates the VPD policies for you. You just need to specify the tables that need to be secured and the columns if you want to have it on column level. So we also have it in our user guide. If you're interested, we can point you to the link in our user guide section for that.
Okay. One more question here, Glenn. Can reports be scheduled? So again, I don't know if you want me just to answer these for you, Glenn, so you can go ahead. How would I do that? How would I do these? The ones I know, I'll do offline, and then you can.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We just do that. That's good. Yeah, I mean, yes, I can cover that. So scheduling is the same as you would expect. Normal reports. The easiest way to schedule a Blitz report is to simply copy it. So you can obviously you find it, and then you would say, okay, submit a new request, and then you would copy. So the reason being for that is that the parameters are obviously variable and in predetermined slots, but you don't get the boilerplate text on the left. So as I said, the easiest way is to just basically kick one off and then just copy it and then pop it on the schedule. That's what our customers do here. So that's, in the standard way, you can do all of the standard delivery options. You can have periodically specific days and so on. You can also, in addition to those email, you can also use the standard Oracle delivery options as well. So you can also put email in addition to your template on the actual report itself. Okay, so that was the scheduling part. Now, if we just go and repeat the operation, I've just gone into a different dashboard, as you can see here. Now I'm in the period close dashboard. Now you've got these on both payables and on receivables, so it's very handy to have a look and see what the unaccounted events are, you know, how many open periods. In this case we've got 17, not very clever, and then what are all those transactions down there that needs to be resolved before. And you can see here we've got a number of transactions that have been left in limbo. That's because obviously this is a vision database. So similarly, you'd come in here and you'd say, okay, I'd like to run one of those reports, and or we can convert one from new. There are already reports there, but I'm just going to go back through the process because I think you'll find it, you know, it will become more intuitive the more I go through it. So let's just do one more report from scratch, Enterprise Command Center. And again, we're looking for receivables. You see here they're nicely you know, named, and in this case it's AR closing, so I'm going to bring that one in, and so there we've got our invoice closing report. Parameter, I'm not going to add any parameters. You saw how that was done, but I'm going to put it on the payables form because I'd like to see it on the I think it's called the AP sumps. There we go. So it's the APX SUMPS, that's the name of the form for the AP period close. So now this report is, oh, sorry, on an AP form, an AR report. That was a schoolboy error for me, so bear with. I'll just put my correct period here, which is the AR version as opposed to the AP version. You see, easily confused. Right, there we go. So form, and now I'm going to use that one. Oh, that's probably why it's not. I'm just going to, I must have put a little strange character in there. There we go. I had a null at the end. Right, good. So that's now assigned. We can just test our report. Remember, we've got version control here. We can categorize it. These are all categorized for search purposes as, in this particular case, Enterprise Command Center. We'll come on to the toolkits in a minute, but the categories help you or help your users when searching for reports. So let's just see if it runs. Always a good start. So the report will obviously do its usual, open. You don't have to have these reports open automatically. That's an option that we've implemented, again, just to save user time, really. So when we get into control, you see we've got our accounting periods, so we can come across, we can pop in our accounting period, and now we've got our report. So before closing the period, we can see what transactions we need to work on, but probably you'd schedule this request and have it sent to the relevant teams that are working these transactions, you know, and you probably want to talk to them about why they've got 17 periods open here. So a few things you can do, but obviously this would be a typical, you know, rather than leaving it to the month end, you'd probably have this on a daily schedule to make sure that the particular teams are working their transactions and getting them out at the blocking period close. And you can do this on all of the modules. Obviously, the ECC provide at least 2 standard closing reports, both for payables and receivables, as I mentioned. So let's just go back and I'll just show you what other things you can do. So I'm going to go across into System Administrator, and we'll just kick off Blitz Report again. But this time we've got things like setup governance. So for example, if you want to keep an eye on, perhaps you're upgrading or you're changing your setup, instead of exporting from the form, like you would do here, typically up here, to get all your values, which is quite a slow process, we just simply put the report that's equivalent to export on the forms, and you can do this on all of the forms. In this particular case, it looks like I've picked a report that's not running, so I'll leave that one to Andy to solve.
No, it's basically enforcing one value, so you can actually take out that restriction if you want.
Oh, that was the restriction.
If you go to setup and then to the
oh, it's okay.
Or just put in.
Yeah, so we're looking at site level here, right? Yeah. So in this particular case,
I know you need to take the one before
the one
site
before
level, not
site level.
the level where you
Yeah, no, you're fine. This one.
Yes, that one. Setup level site.
Yeah, so that would be a choice between application site and responsibility. Okay, right. Now previously that used to default, so I was a bit taken aback by that, but okay. So that will then deliver all of your profile setup options, and you've got this capability throughout the product. So you can do like a fast track on your setup objects that you want it to govern. So while that's running, we'll just nip off and we'll have a look at some of the other things you can do. So concurrent requests is typically a problem at month end. Again, rather than trying to work your way through these parameters that don't really mean much, to everybody, because quite often there's ones and noughts, and that means yes and no, perhaps, but it's less obvious for some of the values, and so we prefer to give you this sort of incremental sort of monitoring reports, which will tell you how long things have been running, what phase they're in, how long they ran for, who ran them, how long it took, and then you've got the parameters here. So that's a translation from the display parameter to allow you to actually make some sense of it. So I'll just widen that one. I'll just show you what I mean. So here, for example, let's do some values that aren't so apparent to you. So you see here we've got let's try and find one that's will explain this better. Can you see an example there? So operating unit, okay, so there's a little bit more detail in here. This probably I'm not reporting.
If you double click on the parameter display value, it's better to read because there's a line feed.
Okay.
Yeah, there. If you double click there.
Right. Oh, I see.
Then, yeah.
Oh, that's better. Yeah. Okay, got it. So here, as you can see, you've got the fully explained parameters, and it's a lot clearer for you to read. But one of the things you can do over here is you can have this running on an incremental basis, as I mentioned. So you can say, okay, as an incremental alert, let me know what the delta is since the last run. So you can have this scheduled every 2 hours or every hour, just picking out your hot points, particularly at month end. That can be quite a useful thing to do. Now, just going back to Blitz Report, we've got some ECC tracking programs. So there are the concurrent programs that run to push the data there, and then there's the we want to keep an eye to make sure that those programs are running correctly. So if we now run this report, this is going to analyze all the enterprise command center push programs to see, make sure that the statuses are good, and you can also then, you'll have an awareness of, if any process has failed. Let me just close this one because I think it's in save mode. That's preventing the other one from opening. Okay, so you see here we've got full load for payables. That one failed. That one was a success. So again, for the support team, this is going to be quite useful to be able to go through and then just check, what's happened and whether or not the command center is current, because otherwise, your users will be using the command center dashboards, and they could be working on stale data. So it's very important to keep those concurrent requests in line and working. There's a few other ECC options you've got here as well. You've got things like the data sets, the metadata attributes. So that's like any of the fundamental setups change that will impact your command center. So again, it lists all of those different functions there. And then as you go through, obviously we've got all the different reports that we've already done on mass. So obviously you can do that. So here we've got discrete manufacturing, there's the enterprise asset management, there's some HR reports, lease contracts, payables, process manufacturing, for all your good process manufacturing, because they're quite rare actually to have a process manufacturing report. So you can bring all of those in. You've got your procurements and projects, receivables, asset tracking, service contracts. So all of the reports you would expect and need and should be in EBS are now available to put into EBS by basically importing them into Blitz Report. So just want to stop there. Any questions that I need to answer at this stage, Beth?
There've been a couple of questions come in. First of all, Glenn, one of the questions was importing and exporting actual data from one instance to another, like setup information from one instance. Can we use Blitz Report to do that?
Yes, it's ideal for that. So data migration, setup. So within the library of the toolkit, so let's just go back to the library concept, which we were getting close to. As we get to the categories here, we've got all the different categories of reports. So for the data management, that would cover the ECC. Operations are all your end-to-end sort of GL, APAR, supply chain planning reports, assets and HR. But within the setup and support, you've got your typical reports for things like payment terms. You've got, bill of material routing. So a lot of the detailed data exporting from here.
But then the question was also for upload. I think that's something which we don't do out of the box because we only export the data. So for upload, they would need to use some other tools like Web ADI and maybe third-party tools like more for apps or alternatively data load. So that's what we actually use a lot. So we generate a Blitz report which automatically generates the data load codes required to upload the data. So that is typically the way.
Which report was that one, Andy?
No, we don't have it on a demo server, but for example, we use it with a couple of customers to migrate like things like flex value set hierarchies and so on. So because you can quickly create a report generating then the codes which data load uses. So, but unfortunately, the answer is no. Ourselves, we don't offer an upload functionality for that sort of data.
But it sounds like you've got some tools that could help.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Other question is it applicable for the Fusion application?
No, Beth, it's not applicable for Fusion. That is on the roadmap, I believe, for next year, but Andy's probably better to comment on that one.
I think that's probably all we need for comment. I don't want to hold you up any further on that.
Okay.
And the last question here that I have right now, Glenn, is do we have any income statement and balance sheet reports?
Yes, we do have balance sheet reports. We've got a number of general ledger reports. And Andy, again, you've just been working on some more, haven't you?
Yes, it's basically that's a typical question. If we can generate something like profit and loss statement or something, and we have a report called GL balance by account hierarchy, and we are also currently enhancing that with a little bit more options. This one combines GL balance information with the account hierarchy. So typically many customers, they use the financial statement generator for that, but it's difficult to maintain. So not many users understand how the definition of these row sets and so on work. And that's why many customers, they move to the Oracle standard flex value set hierarchy definition to set up their accounting hierarchies there. And then this report would automatically read that hierarchy and then bring in the GL balances so that you have something like a financial statement in one report. And we're enhancing this currently with additional options like, for example, revaluation currency. So if you have different ledgers and you want in different currencies and you want to see everything in one currency, let's say euro or US dollar. So we're doing some work on there as well. But so these are the sort of reports we have.
Okay.
Go ahead, Glenn. That's it for now.
That was it. Good. Right. Okay. So back to our familiar territory, Blitz Report. I'm going to just show you some of the toolkit options now. So as I was stepping through, we've got these different toolkits. So there's DBA reporting here as well. So and these are really aimed at both DBAs and functional teams, because very often when you're going through different test phases or different parts of the project, you quite often encounter performance problems. So we've written a number of these reports which are leveraging on the AWR module from Oracle or license, and basically they translate what is otherwise a very difficult subject into something that's quite straightforward for a functional person or a business person to understand. So if we go across tonight, I'll just show you where that would be. Incidentally, all of this is available in form of blogs from our website. You can also go and have a look at some of the tutorials on YouTube. So they're all there available. This particular one around report generation that I've been discussing is available here. You've got the library as well. So if we go to the library and then we pick out the DBA part of the library, you can see all of the different templates here. So if we was to scroll down to, or you just simply put in DBA as a search here. So let's just pop that in there, and that should reduce it. So in here we've got our different database reports, and this is the one I was thinking of. So if we have a look at the template, we can have a look and see, you know, from a functional perspective, you can actually understand finally. So here we've got 19% usage of the system during this snapshot period, and then it explains, okay, a concurrent request running the sales shipment inbound, and then it goes on and it gets a bit more clear now. So then you get your actual SQL here, you get your package name, so that's already quite helpful. You get the line of the code that's offending or causing this performance impact, and then you get the number of executions here. So you see here that's 26 million, blah, 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 quite a lot. And then we've got our CPU time and the elapsed time used here. So we know we've got a problem here. So we would talk, we've got the buffer IO for those geeks who are into all of that kind of stuff, but we know we've got a problem, and it's taken of 3 hours of system time here just to do this. Sorry, 3 days, 5 hours of system time just to execute this function. So, you know, it's very straightforward from my perspective to then find out who the developer is and then just go and contact them and say, look, you need to start analyzing that package and do some work with it. Anything to add, Andy?
Yeah, of course, there's a lot more detailed data, but it's basically the idea of this is to make performance data understandable even for business users or for managers, so that they don't need to, they understand directly the process name and the percentage of the server load that is caused by the process, so that they can feed it back to the development team easily.
Yeah, because in here that you can basically pick the object, you'd find perhaps you've got a problematic form that's taking a while to load. You know, you can just come in here and check all the form performances, but you see here, you know, we don't see anything particularly major going wrong, but you know, you get the point. It's straightforward. So that was the database tuning. As I said, there are a number of different reports in there. Operational wise, we started looking at one of those, and that was in the GL. Sorry,
just a quick question. That other question from someone here on that performance report. Does that have user? I didn't notice if that was on.
User, did you say, Beth?
Yeah. Can you just?
Because it's summarized. So
yeah, this summarized. So this one is on SQL level, but we also have a report which shows the exact application user. So it even shows the username and how many seconds. That is the SGA active session history report. If you find a DBA, you can put it in a search.
SGA, you said?
Or active session, if you just, the first one, yes. Come up there. Okay. One. If you look at example data, let's see if we have some.
Yeah, it might be a good point to mention here too, from our library, all of these reports are online, and you have samples of each of these reports in the little green download that Glenn is showing you right now. So.
Yeah, so here, I think this is from our own server, so probably not so interesting data set, but you see, for example, this is admin, you see with which process he was running, payroll worker process, and then on the further to the right, you see the SQL statements and why it was what it was doing, if the process was processing the data or if it was waiting for something. So it's all very easy to pinpoint then the two problematic SQL statements in case something is slow.
So there's no more pulling the wool over anybody's eyes, right? These DBA mystique. They're always a tricky bunch, I find. Anyway. Okay, so we've got all of these different process areas, payables. These are the standard reports as opposed to, or the ones that come with the Nginatics library. So that there's over 200 different reports. We're very happy to take your requirements for new reports if you've got good ideas that we think will help and benefit our community anyway. We're constantly adding new reports as well. You know, and within the toolkits, there's some really handy features and reports that help the different areas. And one of those is around the data governance part. So again, you've got the ability to audit any of your setup objects, and it's like a template report that we're running. So audit changes by column is very common report, and within the Oracle EBS, you've got this function called basically audit, and basically you would enable that, and then you would leverage on the report, because the Oracle reports are pretty unusable to say the least. So when you want to audit information, you basically come in here and you pick your table that you're interested in. So in our case, I'm just going to show, it could be supplier bank, it could be a key setup like profiles, or perhaps you've got problems with constantly master data issues, which is again very common. So you see here we've got our MTL system items table, and I just basically added, using down arrow, I add whatever column I want to produce an audit on. So in this particular case, perhaps it's the purchase enabled flag, because we've had problems with the users unable to set this, so, or at least set it correctly. If you want to then run this report, we could then go and pick up any changes on this data. So we would do that typically. I'll just go across into the manufacturing module, because we're talking about items, so it'll need a organization, and I'm just going to set my org, so set that to M1, and now I'm going to run that report. So let's just run the Blitz report, and you can come in here, you just put in your name of the report. In this case, we tend to name them by the actual schema. So this is a foundation schema, because it's a sysadmin object, and I'm just going to pick up system items from here, and then I will then look at the from date. I can look at the to date for the period and which users I want to audit, but I'm not going to do that. Leave all that blank. I'm just going to pick up my different columns I'm interested in auditing. So in this case, I'm looking at customer order flag. I'm interested in the lead time, because I keep getting problems with my lead time. ATPable, customer flag. I want to add some additional columns here, and I can go ahead and do that. So in this case, I want to pick up segment 1. So this is the limitation of the standard Oracle reports. They don't give you what the item was that changed, so that's really not much use. And I also would need the organization. So I want to pick up that organization code. And so there's our parameters entered, and we can go ahead and save this. So for example, if you say, okay, I always run it like that, you can actually have those saved, so you don't have to keep putting those parameters in. So once that's run, it should then do a quick walk through that table and check in the auditing table to see who changed what when. And as I said, you can do this on any object. You would just simply take a copy of this report, I would suspect, copy it, and then whether you want to check bank accounts or whether you want to check some critical setups, you would then make a flavor of this report, and then as a generic template, you've then got your information. So this particular user, Pat Stock, for this particular warehouse organization, for this particular item, has changed the ATB flag from no to C, which presumably is components, and then across here we've got this user's changed this ATB flag from no to yes. Again, straightforward. You can see the session, when it was done, what user it was, and so then you can go and talk to them about their data quality or lack of. Okay, so any questions, Beth? Are we good?
We are good to go.
Good to go. Right, little quicker recap. I like to do recaps. So what have we done? Where have we been? The architecture is straightforward. ECC is on a separate database. It's only available from 12.2.4. So those of you that are on 12.1.3 will need to upgrade first before you can use the command center reports, but you can of course use the 200 reports that come with Blitz Report. It's a single form. There's no system admin required. You don't have the overhead. Your users have got the ability to lay out the reports, but they can't create new reports. So, you know, depends on the type of user. Some users are technical, some are just business users. So catering for all of those requests. The process we stepped through was ECC. We took the query, the standard Oracle query, we made a report, and then we sent it out to Excel. Okay, I'm just going to go back because somebody did ask about Discoverer. So I'll just do an import for Discoverer just to show you how that works. So you go to imports, you pick your Discoverer worksheet, and then you've got to find yourself one of your Discoverer worksheets that you're happy with. So I'm going to take a bit of a flyer here because I don't know these reports very well myself, but I think this would be a good one to select. And then it will say, okay, what is the Discoverer end user layer? And then it will import the report. It should import the SQL. It should also import the parameters, and it should also import the assignments. So you don't have to do any of that legwork, provided it works. It could do a little bit of beautification for those of you like your beautified. And so that's really like a final massage. That's like the last couple of percent if you wanted to beautify that. Or indeed you can change it. Parameters have been brought in, assignments have been brought in, and it's been assigned to Discoverer. This report, I'm not sure if it will run from system or from manufacturing where I am. We'll just check. But typically this would work and would be available then to share with your users as you've just seen. It's the same process for BI Publisher, but I will do one of those as well so you can see for yourselves. There's our Discoverer. So similarly, if you had any of the other functions, like I mentioned, if you've got a BI Publisher report, it would be the same process, and we'll just quickly do one. I'm just going to come back here, delete this report, save it, and now I'm going to bring in a different type of report, BI Publisher. And the all inventory values report is an old favorite of ours. It will bring in the BIP code here. This is the XML. And in here, you've got the SQL from the standard Oracle report called the all inventories value. Again, we take the parameters with us so that they're, you don't have to do that. The assignments are done, and now this is ready to run. It doesn't use XML to run. So, and of course, that's the key benefit there, because the performance is quicker and they don't fall over like large BI Publisher reports sometimes do. Okay, quick one. Any questions so far? Are we okay, Beth? Good.
We're good, Glenn. Sorry, I was finding the unmute button.
There, you have to find that. Okay, so I'm done. So if people do want to come off mute and raise your hand and ask me a question, or any of the team here, be happy to take that. This session has been recorded, as you know, so I will send that and share that recording with you. You've got the Enginetics YouTube channel, as I mentioned before. You've got the blog. You've got all the different resources, installation guide. You can use our demonstration system as well. So if you want to go out and have a look at the dashboards, then just come over here and click on the demo link. The login credentials are here. So ECC Blitz if you want to use command centers. If you just want to use the regular Blitz report, then it's developer and Blitz. You've got full access. It's a Sambit. Try not to break it, but it does get refreshed. Yeah, you're welcome to use it. Okay. Any final questions before I close?
I think we're good. I did put a little message in the chat there, Glenn, that if anyone would like a one-on-one private session on this, we're happy to set that up. They can arrange that through Ahmed. He's looking after this team and doing a great job. So he can contact us if anyone needs some more information.
Good. Okay. Thank you. I wish you all well, and I hope you got good benefit from this session.
Hey, Ahmed, any final comments that you want to make? Yes. Yeah.
From the South African Oracle user group, we just would like to thank you, Glenn, for the excellent session. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome. Chat soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Glenn.
All the best.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye. Oh.